about now, guys? Can y'all hear me now? There we go. Cool. Okay. Sorry, I had something muted over here. Got a lot of stuff. Got a lot of stuff connected here. So cool. Now you can hear. I'm new to PodGo. Yes, hear you now. Sounds good. Thanks, Mike. You're new to PodGo, so I guess that means you just got a PodGo. I think I'm gonna do a live stream on PodGo on my next live stream. So tune in for that. I'll probably just be demoing various things and showing some of my personal preferences on the PodGo. But yeah, man, PodGo is pretty sweet. So yeah, you'll want to tune into that. It'll probably be about a month until I do that stream. But today I'm going through my HX Stomp XL, and I just thought, you know, the Stomp XL is really cool, and just wanted to demo that for some people who maybe haven't checked that out. Uh-oh, I think I see Felix out there. What's up, Felix? So I've got that connected today, and let's just kind of jump into this little rig that I have set up here. I've got a shot, an overhead shot. There's a lot of cables and everything. Sorry, I couldn't quite get those cables out of the shot, but just so everybody can see, I have my HX Stomp. And what I'm doing is using the Catalyst amp, which is also new, and some of you guys may be familiar with Catalyst, or maybe you have a Catalyst, but I thought it would be really cool because I don't think anybody has showcased this little feature yet on Catalyst, so I thought I would show this for just another little cool thing that Catalyst does. Catalyst has a switch on the back, which unfortunately I don't have a shot set up for that, but you can switch it. The switch gives you an option between an effects loop or turning the that particular input into just like a powered cabinet for an amp modeler such as Helix or the HX Stomp or PodGo. Works. All those things work great, and you know, just for those guys out there using, what's up, Nick Bell? Everybody out there using PodGo, you know, you've got pretty much the same processing as in the HX and Helix, you know, all the HX, it's all HX family stuff using you know, the super modern impulse responses and everything that you would expect from the HX family. So this would work with PodGo just as well. But what I'm doing now is I set up a patch on my Stomp XL, and I'll show you guys a bit of a close-up of that. So here's my HX edit window, and so let's see, let me actually pull the window up on my end. So here's what I put in this preset. Now anybody who has the HX Stomp or Stomp XL, when we first introduced this guy, you could use 6 blocks, and by blocks I mean these up here. Hopefully you can see my mouse. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but I'm highlighting stuff there. So up here on your signal chain, you can use 6 blocks, and that was including your amp and everything. And so, you know, we released an update that made it possible to use 8 blocks instead. Now also, when you're using Stomp XL, not only can you use 8 blocks, but you have more foot switches. So you have more options. The way I have mine set up right now, sorry I keep shaking that camera, I've got 4 effects, actually 5, and I'll explain that in a second. I've got 4, let's just say 4 switches set up to control effects and turn them on and off. So here's the ones I used. I used, of course, my amp and cab, and for my amp, let's see, I'm actually using the Grammatico. I think this is the Grammatico Jump. So I just really like this IR, and I like Grammatico amps, which are made here in Nashville, Tennessee, so that's pretty cool. But I use that just because it's a little bit different from, you know, your Marshall and Fender Deluxe, which I also love. But, you know, just I really like the Grammatico. And I guess I don't really need to have all these pedals turned on right now. Let me turn that overdrive off. This guy, all that needs to be off. So I've got my amp, my cab. I put an overdrive pedal in here. I'm using the Tone Sovereign today. This is something I don't normally use, so I just wanted to set something up that was a little bit different from my comfort zone. But this thing, the Tone Sovereign, sounds fantastic. Just pull it out of the box and put it in your signal chain, and it just sounds great. So I meant to play without it first and then put it in, but you guys have already heard me with all my effects turned on, except for the modulation. I'll put a modulation in here. I've got the Opto Tremolo, just for the sake of live stream and fun. I'll let you hear how that modulation is set. It's very subtle. I have the depth at 70% as well as the mix. So, and it's also set to quarter note from whatever I happen to tap to, which I don't know what it's set to right now. But the cool thing about that tremolo is it takes the edge off of the attack, or I guess that just means it takes the attack off of the note you play. You'll notice I can it almost like swells into certain notes. I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and turn this. Now I'm completely dry, so I have no effects except modulation. So, you know, it's real subtle, but you can even hear it without all that saturation. You can still hear how it kind of swells into notes. Pretty cool. I'll just leave that guy on for now, and I'll go back down here to my overhead view. So I have that particular effect set. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera. So the modulation is set here. Then I have my overdrive here, and I can actually, let me go ahead and put let's see, that window there. Maybe you guys can sort of see. I don't know if you can really see HX Edit in that window. It's kind of small, but I'm just going to take that out so you can see the overhead. So yeah, I got overdrive right here, and that was my Tone Sovereign. Nice. So another cool thing I did with my foot switch foot switch C right here, I put these two compressors on one foot switch. So I've got a compressor at the beginning of my chain, and that is the Kinky Comp, and then I have a compressor at the end of my chain, and that's the Red Squeeze, one of my favorite compressors. And I have both. The mix is set to 50%. You'll notice down here underneath the parameters, both of them, I have the mix at 50%. So what's cool is, you know, when you're using these virtual signal chains like this, and I've talked about this before for anybody who's seen it. I did a live stream on this very subject. I like to run a compressor before my chain and at the end of my chain, or I guess at the beginning of my chain, and then at the end of my chain. And they really, man, it just adds this beef and this studio gloss over everything, and I'll show you that right now. But also, I just want to take note, I do have the input gate turned on. I don't go anywhere without the input gate. So anyway, back to my overhead view here. So see, I've got both compressors on one foot switch, okay? So if I turn those both on, turn it off. I don't know if it translates very well over computer speakers, but you can definitely feel a difference when it's now turn them back on. And the way I have them set, they're not overly loud. You know, like I said, I've got them set at 50% each. But they bring out that swell from the tremolo. And I don't know, I just like it. It tightens up the overdrive. Obviously, I've got some overdrive going. I can turn that off. And if you're curious, I do have the coil tap engaged. I guess it's engaged. So I'm on my neck pickup right now, and it's in single coil mode. So just for anybody who's curious about that sort of thing. Now then, here's the cool part. This is when our next toy comes into play. Let's see. So you'll notice after my amp, before my modulation, I have an effects loop plugged into my signal chain here. And, you know, that's really easy to do. All you have to do is, when you're selecting your stuff, just go down to your sends and returns, and I have effects loop left selected. And I save that to a foot switch. So I'll show you. That's saved right here to foot switch D. And obviously I'm not using all the blocks that I could use. I could use a lot, you know, I say a lot more. I could use 2 more if I wanted to, and have even more options. And a lot of times what I would do is, I've got a couple of overdrive pedals that I really like, and I may run one of those, you know, a little earlier in the chain, kind of back over here somewhere before the amp. But right now I'm just using one, and it happens to be the lovely DL4 Mark II, which is a super fun toy. I love it, and I'm sure you guys are all hip to this at this point, but you know, it's about what would you say, 3/4 the size of the original DL4, and it just looks really cool, and it's got some really nice hidden, I call them Easter eggs. So this guy is running into my effects loop, and I have the effects loop saved to foot switch D. Okay, now here's where you can kind of end up saving a little DSP if you want to load this thing down with all the blocks, and you're running something like DL4. DL4 not only has, you know, a whole list of the original delays from the original DL4, but the Mark II has a whole selection of HX delays that are, you know, more familiar from some of the HX family products. Now, something else it has, I'm just going to jump over here to number A, because I don't think I have anything but a delay saved. Alright, so you can hear that. That's like an analog thing. I just had that preset saved from a demo that I did. That's a lot of delay, I know. Here's another one. something cool that you can do, and this is what I was originally going to say to save some processing and stuff. The DL4 Mark II has a bunch of secret reverbs, as they're called, and if anybody has DL4 or doesn't have DL4, I don't think I'll get in trouble for showing this, but here's like a little cheat sheet that comes with the DL4, and it explains how to access the secret reverbs, and it explains what each one is. And as you can see, this is a list. Oh, sorry, you can't see that very well. There's a whole list of them here. In order to access those, and maybe we've covered this in another one, I'm pretty sure at least I covered it, or maybe Nick Bell. You've got your legacy button right here, or your alternative, whatever button right here. So the way you access those is just to push in on the button, and while you're pushing it, start turning the selector knob. And now you can see not only is there some wild delay going on there, but now there's some reverb. That's a lot too. And there's some ways to control those, and it covers all that on the little manual. But you've basically got the tweak knob right here. And it depends on what reverb you're using, but the tweak will control different parameters from each reverb. Just depends on the reverb you're using. The tweeze knob, when it's set like you see it here, all the way to, I don't know, what is that, like 5 o'clock, you're basically running your delay and reverb parallel. So, that way they're not really affecting each other. That's how I have it saved here. And at 12 o'clock, they're running in series with the reverb before the delay. And then over here at like 7 o'clock, it's in series the opposite. The delay is before the reverb. So that's pretty cool. And I have one saved here. And this one is, I've got these two running parallel. So basically I've got a foot switch on my HX Stomp that is essentially controlling one pedal, but that one pedal does two things. So I've kind of taken care of my reverb and my delay in one pedal. And, that gives you the option to maybe put another reverb that you want, like maybe something less volatile over here. I didn't do that for this specific example. I've just got it to where when I hit this foot switch D, I get a really saturated rock and roll and hit the overdrive, and so you can kind of see everything is engaged now. I've got my compressors going, I've got some overdrive, my modulation, my effects loop is engaged. And just another side note, and I know a lot of you guys already know this, but because I'm running my effects loop has a reverb and delay in it, I like those guys to be after the amp. It just sounds better. And for sure, actually, I need to have this modulation in front of. There you go. That's a little better now. I forgot to save that, but so now I've got the modulation where it's supposed to be. You want to have your modulation after your gain-based effects and before your reverbs and stuff. So that's why that's after the amp and after the modulation. And then this compressor, this is functioning more like if you had a compressor in your board, like in the studio. So kind of gives you a nice little studio gloss, and you know, in my opinion, it sounds pretty good. It's got a really wet effects sound. So yeah, pretty cool. And what's cool, resume in Spanish, please. I'm sorry, Angel Mendoza. Mi español es muy malo. Maybe the homie Vito Teles can help you. Pixel out my voice mic if possible. Sorry, I was probably turned away from the microphone. Sorry about that. Because I'm just using one room mic for everything, because I'm running all this directly through the Catalyst amp. I'm using the Catalyst instead of the power amp. The power cab, which, as you know, power cab is made specifically for things like the DL4 and the Helix and all that. So with the Catalyst, you can have a standalone amp, and it works really good as a standalone amp. I've actually used it live a couple times now at this point, and it sounded really good, and I got some pretty good compliments on it, and you know, had nothing to do with me. It was just that the amp sounded good. So you know, it works really well for a standalone amp, but it's just, you know, all our stuff is pretty versatile. It seems like there's always 2 or 3 really important things you can do with it, and one of those things with Catalyst is using it as a powered, you know, cabinet. So if you had something like a Pod Go or a HX Stomp or a Helix, you would have the option to use Catalyst, you know, to be just your powered speaker cabinet, and that way you could run your IRs through it. Or you could use some of that, you know, one of the HX models that is already on Catalyst, and they sound, you know, it's very similar. It's like the same technology, it's the same impulse responses. You've got like 6 to choose from on there. So basically kind of doing a little 3-way demo here of 3 different things that are pretty cool. And that's how I've got this set. So sorry, but again, sorry if I was turned away from the mic and you couldn't hear me very well. And also, lo siento, no habla español. Sorry, I'll have to work on that. So yeah, I just play guitar. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this little rig that I have going. So I hope that was kind of interesting and eye-opening. I know a lot of you guys already know some of this stuff, but just a bit more. I'm not sure how well the room mic is picking up my guitar sound, but I'm digging this preset that I have going here. picks a lot. Are you using a particular mode and you're improvising? I was just then. I think I was just doing like E major and G major. So you know, if you want to break it down, it was like I was doing. I guess I was borrowing G major from the E minor mode, and then E major was kind of, you know, just kind of. Those are two borrowed modal playing, I guess you would call that. So that's all that was. Just kind of keeps it sounding fresh. I think that's what you were asking. So G major would normally be with E minor, but in this case I was playing E major and G major. E major, G major. Saturated wet signal doesn't really work too good for staccato fast alternate picking, but for the legato stuff it sounds really good. And you know, if I was gonna just do something, it depends on the sounds you're going for, but you know, I wouldn't really use a lot of reverb on something if I was gonna be doing like some specific like heavy metal type shredding stuff, because they kind of get in the way. But all I really have to do, just to show you guys, I'm going over here a little bit, but hey, if you're still with us, you're still with us. All I got to do to turn that off is just push in on the same button right here, and then turn this selector, and now there's no. So now I have the delay, but there's no reverb, and it's still controlled by this foot switch. So. Completely dry. And now I've got some delay. Maybe get rid of that modulation. it's not there. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope that was fun and, you know, maybe somewhat helpful, just interesting. There's three fun toys. You should go out and buy all of them and then run them together and get those cool tones. It's capable of a lot more, you know, color than what I use today. But, you know, we've got X amount of time and I already went over. So, and I'm usually just happy to sit here and play guitar for an hour. So, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and thanks for watching. Check us out next week. I think Ross will be back up, but it could be Nick Bell. Either way, it'll be a treat. And please go follow me on Instagram and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I give a lot of guitar lessons that only super nerds will really like. So, yeah. What is the cab high cut on the preset? Is it the default? Pixelot, I think it is, but let me look and see, because I don't remember. I set this preset up a few days ago, and yeah, the high cut is just where it normally would be, as is the low cut. And honestly, I forgot to save the mic distance, so the mic distance is at the default 2.5 feet. I normally would have that all the way up, so let me just real quick, I just put it all the way. The mic on the cabinet is now like right up in front of it. You probably can't tell much difference in this scenario. I will say, the Catalyst kind of seems like the natural sound of the cabinet is a little warmer than just like the default on the power cab, because I normally do want to shave off some high cut and some low cut, but I didn't do that on this. But I feel like it's this particular sound right now does not have like an abrasive amount of high end. So, you know, just kind of an interesting little fun fact. I did not change it, and I do have the mic all the way up. I'm here a little late, but what is the best way to hear yourself live if you run the Stomp to the PA mixer? Also, is this a better choice than the Pod Go that I have? Thomas, I don't think it's a better choice. You're thinking of getting the XL, and that's what I'm using. You said you came in late, but just so you can see, that's what I have going here. Let me get my big head out of the way. There we go. So I've got the XL and the DO4. And so the best way to monitor yourself live, I mean, it depends on, you know, what the band is doing. Most of the time when I use this sort of thing live, it's because there are probably in-ear monitors being used. So, you know, that's such an efficient way to play live in the modern era. You know, now that we have the option of using in-ear monitors and things like that. I know a lot of churches do the same thing, so it's really great for that. You know, if you're playing in like a house of worship type situation where they want no stage volume, except of course for the drums, but maybe the drums are in a cage, you know, like a glass cage, so you can't really hear them. So if you want no stage volume, you know, using something like this with in-ears is the perfect way. But, you know, I'll be honest with you, I like to have some stage volume. I like things to sound like what I'm used to. So for me, either the band you're playing with may have monitors on stage, so you can just go through the monitor and you don't need to have in-ears, and you don't need to have an amp. as long as you can hear yourself in that monitor. And another perfect way still is to use it through the power cab or the catalyst. You know, whichever one you happen to have, they both work great. That's what that's what I've got going here today is this catalyst. So outdated in terms of DSP, a very old technology. Okay, news to me. Yeah, I play at church, and no stage volume is good for us because we are small. Yep, exactly. That's my experience with almost every church environment that I've been in. You know, it's like stage volume is not good, and you know, a lot of like the large churches, the acoustics are great if you're playing like acoustic instruments, but for electric instruments and drum sets, you know, that's too loud. So I think this using in-ears solves a lot of those problems, and that's what a lot of churches do, and especially because they don't have to set up and tear down every week. It's good to get something like that set up and just have it there, you know. So maybe that answers your question on the ideal way to do it. I'm going over, but thanks for your questions, guys. Sorry I didn't post your questions on the screen. I was so busy playing with all these toys. But yeah, it was fun. Thank you all for tuning in. Check out my YouTube page. Follow me on Instagram. My name is Tony Camponovo, and thank you all for checking it out. Stick a fork in me. I'm done, and I'll see you in a month or so. Ciao.